So in my last video, I mentioned how stories are the glue to my creativity. And after the after the video rather, I'm so used to doing podcasts. After the video, I started thinking to myself, I started thinking about stories and why they matter, and it kind of led me down this rabbit hole. And it just got me thinking, why do stories matter? And what that made me then think about is not only why do stories matter, but what would a world look like if there wasn't any stories? And when I started to think about that, I was like, hang on, I can't even imagine what that would look like. And actually, no, tell a lie, the more I started to imagine it, the more I started to think about the story that would lead humanity down the path where there would be no stories. So, and that just blew my mind. There isn't a world, well, maybe there is a world, we don't live in it, but a world without stories is just, I don't know, it's just information. Boring, really. I mean, yeah, it's boring. Who wants just information? Nothing connecting it, nothing to make it make sense, just information. And when we think about stories, we think about books, games, films, TV shows, religion, history, family stories, sport. Stories are literally everywhere, and it's something that we really don't think about. In a way, every single person that exists is a storyteller. And that brings me on to what is a story? We often think that, like I said, I think I just mentioned it actually, about how stories are just media, just entertainment, but stories are much more than that. Stories are the main way how us as humans make sense of the world. It's how we organize information. Stories help us understand causes, experiences, and other people. Without stories, like I said, I don't know where we would be. Think about that. A world without stories. What would that look like? Can you imagine it? Can you think about what the world would look like if no one told any stories? And maybe you're sitting there thinking, even when I made that comment, everyone in the world is a storyteller. How could that be? But communication wouldn't exist. Well, I mean, communication would still exist. Information would still exist. But understanding the meanings would be what would be hard without the stories. There'd be less context, less connection, less understanding other people, and that's what we need. We want ourselves to be understood, and others want us to understand them. But imagine a world where that wasn't possible. The only way you could communicate was by way of information. So think of food, hungry, rain, danger, fire. Those words on their own, cool, like you hear danger, you know that there's danger, but like, what is the danger? Where is it coming from? Like, cool, there's danger, but like, I need more. Like, if someone just come to you and said danger, you'd be like, yeah, but what danger? Where is it? What is it? Do you know what I mean? So like, it's hard to say that a world without, like, and that's the thing. I feel like it's the fact that we as humans, we inherently create stories. Even the thing like asking someone how are they. You ask them how are they. Even if they just responded good, you get the information. Okay, you're good. But even knowing that they're good today is information and part of the story, because then that knows, all right, cool, they're good today. Yesterday they were good. I'm not sure. We don't know how they're going to be tomorrow, because tomorrow hasn't happened yet, but we'll find out in the future once we get there. Like a couple of days before, they weren't so good, or at least they're doing good now. Do you see what I mean? Like, stories are built into absolutely everything in the literal fabrics of who we are. Stories turn information into meaningful stuff, into meaningful information. So, love on its own is great, but unless someone says, I love you, or I love this book. I do love this book. Like, I will get onto this a bit later, but do you get what I mean? Like, love on its own is nothing without the meaning or the context of what you mean the love for. And again, I say love, that may make you think of maybe you're in love, maybe you love something and you were just thinking about it, or you were just watching something that was connected to it, and now that's reminded you of that thing, and that thing has a story for why that reminded you of that thing. And that's why communication, language, and information is so important, because a world without stories doesn't necessarily mean no language. As I explained before, it means there's information, but no meaning. Like, the moment you mention something, someone will ask why. Even on the example of you doing good, or most likely it would be like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm not so good. Why? There's a story for why you're not feeling so good. Someone might even ask why you're feeling so good. There's a story to that. And stories are what connect the information together. It connects the context, it connects the meaning. And humans are natural storytellers. Even without being an actual writer or poet or musician, like, you can tell stories too. You tell them every day in your everyday life. And the more I think about it, the more I feel like stories are what connects information across time. And for humans, that's necessary because before we had this wondrous technology, I'm using part of the wondrous magical technology we have right now. Before that world where we had like computers and stuff like that, people had to remember stories and pass it down so that information would be remembered, as well as people writing it down and writing stories, embedding lessons into stories. Like, think about fables, think about folklore, think about myths. All of those are stories, but a lot of them have meanings and words are eluding me. But a lot of them, there's a rhyme to the reason. Like, even think about, when you think about fables, you think about Hans Christian Andersen and we're gonna need, this is a bigger bottle than usual. But yeah, like even Hans Christian Andersen and like the grim, the stories like, oh my days, this has eluded me. It was just in my brain and it's just gone. I did it for university in my third year. I did a play. I'm saying these words out loud so I can try and remember what it is that I was trying to say. Well, I was the word or the movie, the book, the fable that I was trying to remember. The name of what is it? There is it's underwater. There's a mermaid, the Little Mermaid. Oh, see, we got there in the end. And if it wasn't for the story about the story that I was trying to remember, the information that I needed to say out loud so that I could connect the dots to what I was trying to say, the Little Mermaid. So the original story of the Little Mermaid isn't like the Disney version where, you know, she goes and she goes on land and then she has to what is it, like in the original story, the Little Mermaid, she has to cut her tongue out, and that's a sacrifice that she has to make so that she can leave the land of the fishes and walk among humans. So it means that she can't talk, but she's able to be with the one that she loves. So it kind of tells this story of and then it tells a story of, you know, she gets her tongue cut out, she goes back on, she gets on land, and then she ends up having to go back into the water, but she's still lost her voice. Which I believe she does. No, she doesn't get it back. And that's her ultimate thing that she has to give up. She has to give up her voice so that she could have the possibility of being with the one that she loves. But even that was temporary. And she ended up making this huge sacrifice when she didn't end up being able to get or do what she wanted to, be with the one that she loved. But when you watch the fairy tale of it on Disney, it's all happily ever after. But the original story, the fable, it was teaching lessons and grim stories, but it was all about the lesson it teaches you. Or like Little Red Riding Hood, all these stories that we were taught and we listened to and we read as children are the stories that kind of are warnings. Not like a crazy bad warning, but like warnings of things that we should look out for in life. You get told stories about, oh, this happened to so-and-so, so you should be careful of such and such situation. It's a story that, I can't think of what the word is. Again, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of what it is. And I'm gonna finish this video and I'm gonna press stop and the word is gonna come to me. But what can I do? Not much I can do. But what I can do is I can tell you about this amazing book here, The Storm by Akeem Balogum, or Balogum. Hey man, I'm so sorry bro for messing up your name. I love this book, and it was while I was writing the notes for this video and I was trying to figure out what book prop I was gonna have in the shot with me. And then I started thinking, this video is about why stories matter. And then I remember I was looking in my bookshelf. On top of my shelf, I have like a collection of books by people that I know, or just poetry books. And I found this book and it just brought back all the memories, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember The Storm, I remember why I got it. And I bought this book because it was written by Akeem and I went to university with him. And he wrote this collection of short stories called The Storm, and when he told me about it, I was like, oh my gosh, you've written a book, bro, I would love to read this. I bought it straight away, I read through it, and it wasn't, when I started reading it, I got inspired to write poetry, and it got me thinking, oh, like someone that I know has written a collection of short stories. Like, I can't remember the quote, but it's basically something along the lines of, sometimes you don't know something's possible until you see it. Like, and that's what it is, especially when something means something to you, something, not just you see it, but you see it through eyes and you know the person. Like a book written by any old author, J.R.R. Tolkien, like he's just J.R.R. Tolkien, I don't know him. He wrote an amazing collection of books, but I don't know him. But Akeem I know, and he wrote a brilliant collection of short stories that are all connected by this storm. And it got me thinking, maybe I could write a collection of short stories. I didn't have an idea of what the collection of short stories would be about, but until I saw that someone I knew had done it, obviously I knew it was possible, but I didn't see it to be something tangible until I held this book in my hand and I was like, yo, this is mad. And that's how I feel every single time I buy a poetry book from one of my poetry friends who I've either performed on open mics with or I've seen perform in featured sets, and I just like, yeah, I'll definitely buy that book. I do need to read a lot of them. I've maybe read a few poems out of some of them, but not the whole poetry collection. But I will do. And I think I want to do like some kind of poetry book club. Like maybe I'll start it on here and then we'll do it some other way. I don't know how to do it. Haven't figured out, fully formed that idea yet, but yeah, that will happen. Anyway, so Akeem and this story, The Storm, it's, like I said, it's a collection of short stories. They are all connected by the storm. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 short stories inside of here. And yeah, like I said, it starts with the storm, but each story is connected. And that's what I mean. It was like, even when I've read other collections, I need to find that book. I can't remember the name of it. But it was, if I can remember the name of the book, but it was a book that one of my bosses at work gave me. I was looking for a book to read. And one of my bosses at work gave me a book. And she was like, she was telling me she could not get into it, but maybe I might. And it's like this collection by this, I think he's a comedian. But yeah, great collection, very random collection. Like the stories seem random, but then it's connected with like stories from his own life. So it feels like the stories are disjointed and not connected, but when you step outside of it and you're reading it and you get towards the end of it, you realize that the whole thing is connected to his life, which is really beautiful. And yeah, so I recommend, if you can find The Storm, check it out, The Storm. You can get it on Amazon. I think you can get it you can get it from Waterstones. You can get it from, what's this website? writtengallery.com. Yeah, man. It even came with another little short story poem thing inside, The Flood. Yeah, man. Great collection. Right, I'm done with my my promo for the show. Yeah. So it kind of brings me on to like why humans tell stories. Stories help us remember information. Stories help us teach lessons. Stories help us pass on information. Like the fact that I was able to remember this book the moment I looked at it was because of the story of how the story of how this book came to being in my life. Do you know what I mean? The moment I looked at it, I remembered that story. And that story made me remember everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my. And it's knowledge that's passed on between generations. Like the story of, oh, you start doing something and then someone's like, oh my gosh, that's so much like your uncle. Or, oh my gosh, that's so much like your grandma. And you're like, what do you mean? And then you get this whole story of like that one little jig or that one little smile or that one little like quirk or that one little phrase that you said or how you said it. You just thought it was you just saying it, and then you find out that that small thing that could have meant nothing now has this whole new meaning to you because you now find out this story, or you now have this new connection to it. So it becomes you now have you have the new connection to it, and it's like this new thing. Not like new, like, oh my gosh, I just bought this new PlayStation console, but new, like, wow, I'm connected to something deeper than myself. And humans have been telling stories for thousands of years. Like, that's why I love history so much. I just bing, bing, bong. That's just blowing my mind. Obviously, I knew I love the stories and stuff like that, but it's the stories we tell ourselves about the history is what keeps us connected to it. Stories are everywhere. Like, even like right now with football, and like we're having the World Cup right now, even that is a story. Like, you can't watch football without there being a story connected to it. Football isn't just football. Football's more than the game. Football's the story, the heroes, the villains, the rivalries, the chants, the underdog stories, even like before the England game yesterday, like I said, I don't know when you're gonna watch this, and I'm saying yesterday from yesterday's yesterday in context from the day of me recording this video, but not when this video is going out. So I'm saying yesterday when England was playing, but when this video goes out, I think England will be playing on that same day. So it's already an oxymoron, it's already a paradox. I'm saying England yesterday, the video comes out, you're watching it, you're like, England yesterday, but England are playing today. Don't worry, I've explained it before, and if you skipped ahead, you need to go back. So yeah, England, when they played yesterday, I couldn't even tell you the date. Right now, I'll put it up on the screen so like you're not confused. I'm not talking about random, I'm not from the past or from the future, like it's just the context of when I recorded it. But when England played yesterday, like before the game, they had this little documentary with, what's his name? Harry Kane, and it was like about him going to play for Bayern Munich, and then they had this parallel story going on with another player that also went to play maybe for Bayern Munich or maybe for another like European team, and then he was also the England captain, and they were drawing the parallels and creating this story before the game, and like bringing up like you know, like yeah, like hyping you up for the game so you could support the team. And I hope that we won, and we did win 4-2. But hey, enough about football, I'm just saying. Even within football or politics, or even like the news, there's news stories. You're hooked to the story. Like that's what hooks you in. If it was just fact, someone died, someone was stabbed, those are the first things that came to my mind. I'm so sorry. That's the news, you know. I can't think of anything other that would be on the news, because that's a war is happening. If those were like just, if you watched the news and you just saw someone died, a war is happening. Oil. You would be like, okay, so tell me the story of like all these things. Like how are they connected? Are they three separate stories? So like it's interesting as well, because like as well as stories being all these external things like football and entertainment, games, media, books, is always also the way that we understand ourselves. When someone asks you who you are, almost instantly the response is going to be a story. If someone asks you when your birthday is, you may give them a date, but then there may be follow-up questions because of what the date is, or what did you do at your last birthday, or do you know what I mean? Or like, then you're telling a story some more times. Like, it's very rare that you just give information unless you're, I don't know, data entering, or like it's a neurodivergence. Like I don't see how. And even then, like, even if you just give information externally, internally, there's this whole story going on about, like, you know, if you gave the right word, did I mess up? I shouldn't have said that, or do you know what I mean? Or there's always a story going on where even when you think there's no story, there's always a story. It's how we explain things. It's how I got to the point of figuring out that I wanted to make this video. It's how we see possibilities and options through stories. It makes it seem possible. If I didn't see my friend write a short story collection, although I would have known it would be possible, I wouldn't have seen it to be physically possible to me, tangible. Everything is impossible until someone does it, you know? That's literally a line from my poem. But yeah, literally, everything's impossible until someone does it. And even if someone does it, until someone that matters to you does it, it doesn't really matter. And that's kind of the crux of this video, why stories matter. It's the stories that we tell ourselves to influence people, or influence to make anything possible. Stories and creativity, it's like, I've maybe switched to that topic way too quick. I was just in the flow of talking. But yeah, it's like, when you think about, I think about even creativity and stories, it's the connection to reading, music, poetry. Like, a lot of, sometimes for me, writing poetry is an abstract process because I don't often write with a specific topic in hand. A lot of the time, words come to me, I write down those words, and then I start writing more words. And it seems like a real abstract process to me, even while I'm doing it. Even when I'm doing it, I'm just writing words. I'm like, does this make sense? It rhymes. The wordplay makes sense, but like, is there a real connection here? And then I'll get to the end of the piece and I'll read it back and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like, although it's not maybe a linear story, it is a linear story. It'll be start, middle, end. Although it kind of may not linearly make sense through certain lines that I say until I get later on, and you're like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. I understand why you've said that, you know? And I think I've missed something, did I? Yeah, that's fine. I just bumped my mic. And yeah, That's what I'm saying. I lost my train of thought. Well, I got distracted. Poetry. This is why I write these notes. So for these moments, lose train of thought, forget what I'm saying, get distracted by my own thoughts, all my own things that I'm doing. Poetry. And yeah, how I write, and yeah, I don't know, but then when I read it back, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. This is a story from start to finish. It makes sense. I've got the beats that start in here in this abstract place, get into the middle where there's something happens, and then you get to the conclusion at the end. And stories are what help me do that. Like, reading is the glue to my imagination. It helps me like imagine worlds, and those worlds influence the things I write, the music I make, the ideas I have, the things I sometimes think about. Stories inspire the possibilities. Like, even the fact that I'm making this third video, it was all from an idea that came from a story, the story being books. And the fact that I buy so many books. And I love stories and storytelling and creativity, and I was just like, yeah, I had been saying to myself, I want to talk about books, or I want to talk about storytelling, but I hadn't figured that out yet, at the time when I was saying it to myself. And now I've got to the point where I'm actually doing it, but that it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for all the books and the connection of the books, and and that just literally blows my mind, because stories create connections. There's shared experiences, shared references. You and your friends watch the same TV show, and you quote a line and everyone's laughing, and someone else quotes another line and everyone's laughing. And if you don't have that shared experience or the shared reference of where it's come from, like, you don't have the extra meaning. Like, think about recommendations. If someone recommends you something, it's never, oh, you need to get this thing. Is, oh, you need to check this thing out because and I watched it and I loved it and I think that you would really enjoy it, and or you need to buy this thing. I just tried this amazing chocolate. You need to try this as well because you know what I mean? There's a story. And the ultimate storier that makes stories matter is the bookshop, which, I absolutely love. They are the story dealers, the story sellers. I understand they call themselves booksellers, but, we all know that they're dealing the books. Like, you go in there, you're just going to look around, and then they've got their nice sections, new in, sci-fi, classics, romantic comedies, crime novels. I'm trying to think of genres. But you get the picture. They've got all these genres out there, and you're just like, oh, all right, cool. I'll take a gander. I'll have a little look. You pick up a little book, you'll look at the back, and you'll be like, all right, cool, this seems interesting. I'll check this out. Maybe I'll buy this. Before you know it, you've got 10 books in your hand, and you're at the counter, and you're like, and they're like, oh, 10 books? They all for you? And you're like, gotta make up an excuse. Yeah? Of course they're all for me. I mean, I'm not going to read them all at the same time, but at some point they'll be read. What's with all the questions, bookseller? Like, even the Word Zoo, it's an event, it's an open mic event for the sharing of stories. People share their personal stories through poetry, through music, through words, through sound, and we're all in the room connecting with that experience. Maybe it's an experience that we haven't experienced before. Maybe it's a situation that we've never experienced, or we're not complete understanding of, but through this shared experience, the sharing of the words, the bard, the storyteller, creating the images for your imagination so that you can actually see this happening. And then, I don't know, if you're just watching this and you love books, I don't know if you go to open mic events, so I don't know if you perform, but if you are like a performer, or even if you're not, and you go to open mic events and you've heard poets I can specifically talk about, sometimes you go out to a performance and you hear a story in the form of a poem, and you hear some words that you didn't even know you needed to hear until you heard them. And then those words are forever connected to that moment, and that moment lives beyond that moment because you take that moment along with you to wherever its next place is, the next level of where this moment, that line, those words, whatever that inspires. But if you weren't in that place to experience it, it never would have happened. Or maybe it would have, and maybe it would have been in a different form in another place. But you would never have that moment, you know? Stories are what, like, communities are built around stories. Stories help communities. My days. Communities. Oh my days, I'm saying the wrong words. Stories. Stories help strangers connect. If you don't know someone, a good way to connect is through a story, a shared experience. Someone says something and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like such and such that I've experienced. And then, oh my gosh, this is like this. And you're back and forth, and before you know, you're down a rabbit hole in a place of a conversation you didn't even know, or you didn't even start in that place. And basically, in conclusion, all I have to say is the reason why stories matter are because stories aren't just entertainment. Stories aren't just books, games, films. Stories are one of the most fundamental ways humans create meaning. We use stories to understand ourselves. We use stories to understand each other's lives. We use stories to understand the world around us. Culture and everything. There's a story to everything, and maybe that's why stories matter so much, because without stories, it's kind of hard to imagine a world without it. It's kind of hard to even imagine what it would be like to be a human without stories. So with that, before I get to the end, my final question for you guys is, what story has stayed with you for the longest? It could be a story from a book, a story from a film, TV show, a game, a poem, a song. It could be absolutely anything. But I want to know what that story is and why it has stayed with you for such a long time. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you for watching if you got this far in the video. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. I'll be back for more stories, books, creativity, and I don't know, side quests, tangents, all that good stuff. The reason why you're here, you know. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I enjoyed telling you about why stories matter. And yeah, until next time, see you soon. Bye. I need to